Coach Pete does excellent. I mean, this is a good book. If you haven't read it already, Mental and Emotional Training, Compete, Learn, Honor, all the principles that are applied in the book, his research. I think the game of life. I mean, you experience so much in the way of learning and whatever, whether it's sport or in our jobs or with our kids. We're learning, right? And part of the competition of honoring and then obviously honoring who we are as individuals, as human beings, as a community. And there's nothing finer than just seeing a lot of pickleball friends and family here. A lot of faces I see and recognize, and it's good to see you again. And it's good to be, talking about this game as it's applied with tennis concepts, because so many things in sport, maybe transect, but I think in pickleball, racquetball, ping pong, tennis, I mean, a lot of things really do apply. And the fact that you all look like you're ready to go out in the gym and start playing again. Coach Pete's pumped you up a little bit. That's great. I see some pickleball players sneaking in at the end, like we had to get that one more game in. That's great, and it's fun to be here. So I know Tony said a little bit of a background about who I am and some different things. I got into the game about 5 years ago, kind of on a whim, and I'm sure you all have fun stories where somebody hands you a paddle. Here, try this funny game. See what you do and what it's like. And lo and behold, something clicked in your brain, right? This is fun. This is easy to learn. Or I can do this. Or I remember when I used to be on the court or on the field or in competition. Some kind of nibbled at your competitive bone inside your brain. Maybe the wizard brain was coming out a little bit. Maybe after 30 years of being stagnant, you found that you could be in a position to engage. But for the love of the game, for whatever reason that you got involved, having this community, having the Ballwin Pickleball Club, having the ability to see it grow from a St. Louis standpoint, and magnitude all over the country, all over the world for that matter right now. It's fun to see, and the growth of the game, because it's for the love of the game, right? It's a simple game. It's a wiffle ball, it's a paddle, it's a net, it's a court, but in reality it's community, and I think that's what you have to really think about when we talk about honoring the game and loving the game. It really is the connections and the people that come together, the tapping of the paddles, to be able to say, hey, good job, nice to see you, how you been, give each other a warm hug at the beginning, at the end. Those are things that really, really transformed me and got me involved with the game early on. I had dilapidated tennis courts 2 blocks from my house, a little place in South City called Tillis Park. Started thinking, all right, I'd like to walk over and find pickleball courts. I went to some other cities and venues where they had nice things and started to turn it into this personal mission, literally, of what I could do to try to transform this thing. Fast forward a little bit, got involved with aldermen, politicians, local government, started volunteering my time, dug dirt out of cracked holes, filling with rock, put on free clinics. Lo and behold, convinced a lot of people that pickleball was a good thing. Was able to get the courts done at Tillis, transformed Tower Grove, worked on the folks at Dwight Davis in Forest Park, got a chance to head over to a planning meeting in the Crondelet Park, got those courts open up, and right now we're building 2 more courts in Francis Park. So in South City, 5 miles from my house, 26 permanent courts, and it's exciting to see now the county's catching up a little bit. I know you're working hard here in Ballwin. DePere Park's putting in 3 beautiful courts right now, and it's really starting to grow. And part of that effort is really, as you guys are starting to discover, is the love of the game, right? And I think the principles that Coach talks about, the efforts that people start to put themselves forward and starting to champion, hey, I can do this, or I want to be at the forefront of this, or I really want to get involved, is fun. I got involved with tournaments right away. I started competing, thinking, oh, I really like this. I like this edge of competition. I played sports as a kid, football, basketball, baseball, I was in the mode of, hey, I really want to get to a point where I could become better. I started winning medals in a sense that I think a lot of it was the ability to kind of transform in a sense of saying, hey, I need to be the best or I need to be better, to really trying to stay mentally level during matches. Okay, I'm going to talk about this a little bit too, because a lot of times in a match, as coach talks about, a game to 11, game to 15, we don't have a lot of time. Points happen, boom, 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 boom. And how do you not get too high? How do you not get too low? How do you stay mentally level? How do you forget about the last point? How do you stay focused on the point at hand? There's a lot of times what helped me process through being able to do that. Number two, I picked a good partner a lot of times, right? Pickleball is unfortunately a doubles game, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I put in the handout about the 4 C's of pickleball, love and divorce. But getting back to Coach's points, and I do want to focus in on them because I think they are important. And if we start to think about, as a beginner, as an intermediate player, even as an advanced player, there's things that we can commit to when it comes down to compete, learn, and honor. And some of those things in particular, I like to reverse it. I like the honor, learn, and compete part of it, okay? I think we have to honor things like the love of the game, the sport, and the community, and our opponents, and the health and wealth of the game, of what it's doing to us. Yes, there's winners and losers in each game. Yes, we can say, hey, I'm on the medal stand or I'm not. Yes, I can say, I'm from this skill level and this is where I'm going to put myself in it. But if we really think about what we're trying to do, from maybe a beginner standpoint, if we're thinking about the compete aspect, understanding that there's many styles of play. A lot of us come with different athletic abilities or sport backgrounds or engagements, okay? How we hold the paddle could be different than the person next to us or across from us. What we do to try to take our tennis two-hand or backhand or our racquetball or underneath shot or whatever we're doing, okay? There's so many different ways to play this game that we just have to understand that it's a fun game, okay? The ball ultimately has got to go over the net, right? It's got to come back within a court boundary, and how it gets there, what it does, there's ways to do that. So I think in many respects, is understanding there's a lot of different ways to play the game, okay? If we're going to think about playing a game, the way I teach, what I like to do from a soft game perspective, okay, by keeping the ball down, using a third shot, by dinking, by trying to use strategy in the game, then we have to understand that maybe our style of playing the game isn't always the right way, or maybe we want to compete or try to transform our game into a different way of style of play, okay? And that's a little bit of sometimes that mental approach that maybe our way is a way, but there are other ways, and I need to commit to that. So honoring that aspect of it. From an intermediate level, I think we have to understand that from an honor standpoint, there's a mistake that's going to be made on every single point. Okay? There is not one pickleball point that somebody like Pete or I can't watch on film or video or live and say, oh, you didn't have your paddle in the right position, or you didn't cover that line close enough, or you didn't move forward, or you're back 3 inches where you should have been, or you should have been a little bit lower, okay? Yes, we can break down every single point and find a mistake of some sort. But when you can value those mistakes, when you can take those mistakes and understand that they're going to happen, that it isn't always about some perfect form or technique or shot or decision that you're going to be on the court, it's okay, especially as you start to move into a different style of game, like the soft game. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be mistakes that are going to happen. There's mistakes that you're going to make, your partner's going to make, and it's important to be able to understand that and honor that mistakes are part of the game, and it's part of committing to a new style of play. Maybe from an advanced standpoint, if we're talking about the soft game, you're trying to incorporate a drop shot or maybe a cross-court dink or maybe softening the ball into the kitchen area. Well, guess what your partner's trying to do to you? The same exact things, okay? And because it's a strategy and a style and an effective one in that regard, they're going to pull off things against you just like you're trying to do to them. So you have to really honor those factors of it, of saying, hey, not only am I trying this, but my opponent's trying to work those same strategies against me, and guess what? They may work. So is it the fact that I did bad or they did good? And a lot of times, what in baseball terms, we have to tip our cap to our opponent for saying, hey, that was a really good shot, or there was a really great effort, or guess what? I know what you're trying to do to me because I'm trying to do it to you, and you did it better than I did. Okay, and I think that's a part of it. Thinking about learning, okay, we're getting back to the beginner side. You know, I think learning after we honor the game is really, when you start talking about, you know, folks that I've taught and instructed and the folks that I've worked with. Martha has been one of my longest standing students and wonderful learner and developer of the game. But it's really knowing that every time you're on the court, knowing that there's an opportunity to learn and improve, okay? A lot of us get in these rec games, whether they're here or outside somewhere, and the first thing we think about is what? Winning. It's a game to 11. I want to win this game. I want to make sure that I'm not disappointing my partner. I want to make sure that I'm doing as much as I can to build my strengths or play to my strengths so I'm not embarrassing myself or my partner. That ultimately in this rec game, what's it mean? Are you on a medal stand in a rec game? No. Are you in the US Open or Nationals, you know, competing at the highest level for some big cash purses or something like that? No? Okay. So we do it for our own gratification of winning, okay, rather than learning or trying to improve maybe an area that we want to work on. Maybe my backhand, maybe turning the ball down into the kitchen more, maybe a cross-court dink. So the idea is when we think about learning, there's always an opportunity to learn, okay? Whether it's somebody that does something against you, maybe it's somebody that you watch as you step on the court, maybe how they hit the ball, whatever the case might be. I think we have to understand learning happens throughout every single game and not always thinking about having to win. I think from the intermediate standpoint, if we start talking about learning, we have to start to thinking about, do we walk on the court and become a 5-0 player? Some people maybe, they have that kind of athletic ability or that kind of mentality or that kind of just God-given talent. But the reality is we got to drill, we got to practice, we have to do things that are going to help us. Do you understand, you know, the techniques that you're given from a soft skills standpoint? The third shot, does it go over every single time? No, and maybe part of that is building muscle memory and being able to work with your partners. So not just going into your game saying, oh, I'm just going to keep banging the ball from the backcourt, but committing and being able to put yourself in position to learn that drop shot or to make sure that you're up at the net or playing over the line when I talk about standing over there and getting your hands up and over that front of that kitchen line, okay, cutting off that angle a little bit more. Most of us aren't comfortable doing that because we haven't put ourselves in enough positions to be able to kind of roll into that. So learning is about putting yourself in difficult situations and allowing yourself to say, hey, this is something I want to work on. And we can say to our partner, you know what, this game I'm really going to be working on my drop shots. We may or may not do well, but if you don't mind, this is some of the strategy I'm going to employ this time. Do you want to work on that together? So I just want to let you know, okay? We feel bad when we pop a ball up, right? What's going to happen? Someone's going to light us up or light our partner up, okay? We all have been in that position before. Why do we pop it up? Who knows? Maybe our pedal wasn't in the right position. Maybe we swung too hard. Maybe they put a good shot on us low and we tried to hit it hard, whatever the case might be. We feel bad. We didn't want to do it. Can we get that shot back? No, but we can improve upon that by learning about what we did and try to get to the next side. I think as an advanced player, when we start to think about learning, we have to really commit to a practice schedule to create that muscle memory, to allow ourselves to be in a position to be able to kind of repeat different things under a lot of different pressures, okay? I just played in a tournament last Saturday up in Sterling, Illinois. We had 22 games I played on Saturday. I played 12 at the men's level in a round robin and played 10 at the mixed doubles level. 180 points, if we do the math correctly. Actually, there was more 190 points, excuse me. There was more points because we won extra points in a couple matches, so almost 200 points. You think you have to be able to be the same every single point? Okay. Coach talked about, you know, the ups and downs of a match, when you can play at your very peak level, and then other times, boy, I can't get the ball over the net. What am I doing wrong? But being able to consider that muscle memory and being able to be put in those pressure situations of the 11-9 game, of the 1-0 game, okay? What's the 2 toughest points to win in pickleball? What's the first toughest point to win in pickleball?
Last one.
Actually, no. It's 10 whatever 2. Okay? It's the last point of the match. Why? Because you're doing everything from that self. What can I do to win this point? Okay? It's not about the fundamentals. It's actually about whatever. And I tell you, I've been in a lot of matches where if you can stop 10 whatever 2 and get that ball back and get a side out, suddenly that momentum turns very quickly and the other team tightens up in there. The second toughest point, I think somebody said earlier, first point, right? And why is that? Because we're so tight and anxious in the things that we're doing. Oh my gosh, how do I get this whatever? I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not quick enough, I'm not athletic enough. They're so much younger than I am. I'll turn 50 in a few months here, so I'm very excited about playing at the junior level of the senior ranks here. Hopefully I'll get some more medals. They're starting to slow down a little bit. But the idea is, yes, this is a game that from 9 to 90, I've never seen people compete on a court where they have the same ability to win a match or to compete in the match, I should say, differently than any other things, okay? Yes, we have to anticipate. Yes, we have to have muscle memory. Yes, we have to consider the strategy and the shot placement, okay? One of the fun things, as you guys know, it's not about power in this game. Maybe you're discovering it more and more, okay? It's a little bit more about placement and getting the ball in certain areas and allowing yourself to really learn in those areas. 3, we'll talk a little bit about compete. Especially at the beginner level. How many of you guys really choke down and squeeze hard because you know you got to get ready for that ball, okay? When you think about that squeeze, that grip pressure, it creates a lot of tension in the arm here, okay? That ball is pretty light. It's not a lot of torque like a tennis ball on tennis strings. You really, really have to kind of lighten this grip. So think about yourself kind of competing by shortening your swing, not taking such a long one, but being very light and being very smooth with our shots, okay? I think competing is all about really practicing and honing in on some of the things that we're talking about from the beginning level. If I'm trying to keep the ball low over the net, is not necessarily just thinking about getting it over, but I need to really get that paddle angle going a little bit more closed or turned down so I can get that ball going down rather than just popping it up, okay? So I have to really think about the competition is not necessarily just throwing it at my partner or dinking it straight to him or her, but maybe moving it to the side of them a little bit more, okay? So competing is understanding that there's better ways to win than just playing and getting it over kind of deal. Moving forward, getting in position at the kitchen line, okay? My number one goal from the backcourt, from the serve and return serve, is not to win a point. It's to get that kitchen line, okay, where you have a much better chance of getting there. Why is pickleball so hard to win? Because the only time you get a point from the serving team is because the 2-bounce rule allows for the receivers to have the advantage on every point. So if you're a receiver, you better take advantage by getting to that line first. If you're a serving team, you have to earn your way up to that line, okay? By getting to that line finally, even though the point's still going, psychologically, that team on the other side, the receiving time, is suddenly like, oh, I just lost the advantage on this point. Now I got to win it out a different way. Psychologically, you have a mini win within that. So you have to kind of stay focused within that. Instead of trying to win the point in the backcourt, you're really trying to get to a position that you can win the point overall, okay? Competing at the intermediate level, I can't say enough, is success on this third shot drop, or being able to get that ball low over the net so you can move forward, okay? Too many times people are in the backcourt and the ball comes over and they're just starting to bang away, and I stop them in my instructional play and say, okay, when did you decide to hit that ball, that shot, that hard shot coming over? And they're like, well, when the ball come back over. No, the reality is you need to be able to commit to a shot before you actually serve. Okay, when the ball comes back over, there's too many things happening. Trajectory of the ball, the speed, where it's going to bounce, what am I going to do? And then you got to decide, oh, how am I going to actually hit this shot? Most of us will default to what we know, our strengths, hit it hard, as opposed to trying to drop it in. But if you can decide, well, before you serve, and maybe say to your partner, hey, I'm thinking about dropping this ball in, then you just have to get yourself in good position to be able to execute that shot. It means so much in a match when you can already be in position and thinking about what you're going to do before you do it, because during the course of the point, you're not going to be able to do that. But when you have time, like you have the ball to serve, or you have time in the backcourt as a returner server, where am I going to hit this returner serve? Deep down the middle is probably a good spot. Ooh, that person's sneaking in on the backside. I might want to try to hit it towards their feet. Okay, and it allows for us to make better decisions when we come up to that, especially at the intermediate level. Trying to win points, not by yourself. Allow your partner to win a point. Okay? I love when I can dink across court or put pressure on my opponent by allowing them to maybe take a ball a little bit higher than they want, and all of a sudden they pop up and my partner's going boom. Okay? It gives me more gratification to allow my partner to hit one down than it is for me to hit one down. Okay? And if you can start to think about that, what can I do to make my partner successful in pickleball? It's just going to benefit you, right, in your team. Okay? Some of the best pickleball play I've ever had is when my partner does really well, okay, because it helps me do well. And if I'm on them about whatever, and I'll talk about a little bit quickly at the end about competing with your partner, if you get down on them, if you have bad mannerisms, if you have, paddle throwing, you're probably not going to play well, or your partner's going to be a little nervous about what's going on, kind of a deal. Competing at the high level, you have to commit to a certain level of play. You can't just totally change styles, willy-nilly through a match. I mean, you can change strategies. You can recognize a weakness in a player and maybe hit to their backhand a little bit more, target somebody's left toe, being able to lob the ball if they're really aggressive at the line. There's certain ways to do that, okay? But if you're not sure what you're going to play, or you're not really in position to make good, clean shots, you're just going to be kind of on your heels, okay? We want to be thinking by moving forward. We want to be not so much the aggressor, but the good defender. I think some of the best matches that I've ever been in is the matches I've actually defended the best. Okay? What do I mean by that? Blocking the best, getting that ball down, okay? Somebody's going to be aggressive against me, they hit it hard, my next ball is at their toe, then they hit another one hard and I'm watching that ball go over my left shoulder, okay? They're much more challenged when you sit there across from someone and they're giving me their best stuff and the ball keeps coming back. Keeps coming back. Okay? So I think in many regards it's making sure that you're doing a good job of not putting yourself in a position of understanding that, hey, this younger, faster, stronger, more athletic, better dressed, whatever type of player across from me is so much better, but getting yourself in a better mindset of saying, hey, this is a game I honor, I'm going to continue to learn in this game, and I'm going to compete to my best by giving 100% of time every single time. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
All right, just a couple things, if you will, on the handout. I wrote this article a couple of years ago for Valentine's Day in my blog on stlouispickleball.com. It's called Pickleball, Love, and Divorce. I had a little fun with it, but I think it really holds true when you start to think about some of the things that are important when you're playing with a partner. You know, tennis is the main sport. The most televised part of the sport is obviously singles, right? And people, you know, really transformed at a single play. Some of the best tennis matches I ever watched, if they were shown on TV, is doubles tennis. And in a lot of the clubs and a lot of the USTA leagues, it's doubles. So doubles is a big game, but it's almost primarily the game that's played in pickleball. Singles happens, there's a lot of singles tournaments, but in reality, doubles is the thing. So you really got to think about your partner. You really got to be in a position to kind of say, hey, this is something that's really important, and how are we going to do that, compete together. And when you're next to somebody that you really care about, you know, whether it's your spouse, whether it's a friend, whether it's a sibling, whether it's your parent or son or daughter, or whatever the case might be, even my best friend, I'm going to love them on the court, kind of a deal. We're going to get linked up with people all the time in our social games, okay? Sometimes for the first time, sometimes we do. We certainly love and honor the game, but we may not be in that, you know, tight connected relationship where we have to go live under the same roof or do something like that. So it's really important that when we start to talk about our partners, it's being able to communicate, being able to effectively talk on the court, yours, mine, okay? One of the things I teach a lot of times is when that return serve comes back, what's the first thing? We talk about committing to a third shot. Well, who's going to hit that third shot, okay? And now what's the problem is when somebody says mine at the same time or yours at the same time, guess what? Nobody hits it, or you hit it at the same time, right? So commit to one person being able to call that, communicate well, being able to kind of talk about those things. You have positive communication throughout the round. Being able to say, hey, here's a position, your ball, or being able to, hey, that's a really a great effort. I like your decision making. Maybe it's been a wrong shot, or they didn't execute the shot well, but being able to do that. So communicating is definitely certainly important. Encouraging them. How many times do we get down on ourselves in a match? All the time, okay? I set up my partner, they got blasted, I did this, they missed an easy shot, and what do? Sulk, it's the first thing. So the idea is not to get into a position where we're sitting there. Certainly it's not okay, they don't want to miss that shot, but the idea is, hey, it happens, we all do it, we all go through it, there's a mistake every point. So we don't want to be able to do it. One of the things I like about paddle tapping, most people do it when they get a point. Okay? I actually like to do it at any point. If you ever watched volleyball, women's or men's volleyball, college volleyball, they could be the worst shot in the world, and at the end of the thing, they're all having a love fest. And why are they doing it? Because they're bonding together. Hey, I'm in it with you. I'm in this situation together. We're battling together. This is important to us. Don't get down on yourself, because it's important as a team for us to come together. So I think that's important when you're on a pickleball court. Whether you meet somebody for the first time or not, wouldn't you want to be smiling, encouraging your partner to be across from you or next to you? That sort of thing. And that goes along hand in hand with the criticism, okay? As coaches, we can be, very critical, okay? But I try to teach from a positivity standpoint. One of the things that is important is understanding that, again, mistakes happen, but we're learning, we're growing, we're honoring, we're competing, and that's a part of really helping people build their confidence, okay? You can think about many matches that you've been in where confidence is huge, and if you don't have any, or you're kind of anxious and those sorts of things, you're not going to play very well. So I think when you can encourage your partner by not criticizing, by not chastising them, is important. Last but not least, the big C, I call it the compromise. Understanding that we all have strengths in this game, we all have skills and abilities. Being able to help your partner play to their abilities. Okay? If they're struggling on their third shot, maybe I need to come over a little bit farther onto their side of the court and take that third shot. Or if they're struggling, with a ball that they usually hit pretty well, just saying, hey, let's think about a different strategy. What do you want to do together? And instead of saying and being directive, okay? Many times we're kind of, hey, do this and do that, without saying, hey, what would you like to do? And being open and being encouraging and being very positive. Let's work this thing out together. I love Coach Peak's words at the end of his presentation is, hey, I love you, okay? I remember being in a match with my partner Jason Wershachuk down in Festus a couple years ago. We were a 4-5 team. We're playing a really strong 5-0 team coming from out of town. We lost the first of 3 games, a 3-set, or basically best out of 3 in the final championship game. And we're down 2-0 in our next game. And I says to him on a timeout, I says, you know what? I says, right now, I wouldn't want to be anywhere other place than right here, right now with you. Number 2, I says, you know what? I think we're the best 4-5 team here. And we got every opportunity to beat this 5-0 team, so what do you think about that? So just those 2 things I was able to kind of encourage to say, hey, it's no worries if we win or lose, but I think this is what we can do, and I don't want to be anywhere other place. And we came back to 1-3, and it was a really, really good feeling, a great moment. It wasn't about the win, but I think that's that